The internet is full of weird shit. And I love it. Like I always say, the weirder, the better. You literally never say that. Didn't we fire you in the last video? Why are you here? I don't know. Anyway, some of the weirdest stuff lives on itch.io, a website for developers to share their games, concepts, and game jam entries for you to play for free. Now, of course, these are not AAA games. Most of them are short and frankly unpolished, but all that matters is we find the weirdest games on the internet. Oh look, the elevator's here. Absurd Elevator is by far the most unique game on this list. It asks you to print out key covers to play the game with. Where do I put the paper? Yeah, unfortunately I don't have a printer, so I ended up just drawing them myself. Art. The idea here is a silly, goofy character pops up and babbles about some BS. Hidden within the babble are some clues. You hit the 3 keys that you think match up and the doors open to the appropriate floor. Honestly, the floors were kind of underwhelming, just messes of visuals thrown together to fit a certain theme. I ended up hearing the Nyan Cat theme one too many times and it kind of killed it for me. I feel like the floors themselves were trying a little too hard to be weird and it felt a little forced. But on the other hand, the characters that pop up to give you the dialogue were actually super fun, and I was always excited to see who was going to pop up next, like Skeleton here and this green guy. Really, there's not tons more to talk about for this game, but the keyboard concept alone was worth mentioning, and I kinda just wanted to show you the little green blob. I like him. His name is Glorm. He's my son now.
Father, please grant me the sweet release of death.
Ever wanted to control a PlayStation 4 controller and fight a disembodied hand? Yeah. Me neither. However, I have always wanted to play Super Mario 64 on my PC. Yep, that's pretty much how I remember it. A couple of these games had really fun concepts. In Cowboy Golf, you shoot a soccer ball to score goals that let you progress through the game. The concept itself is enjoyable, but the signs that guide you added a neat little layer to things. They guide you through the game as usual, but eventually you realize the signs have text on the backside as well that often argues with the front side. It becomes this whole narrative about breaking the mold and living life how you want, which got a little too existential for me, but I think the concept of a puzzle game driven by a back and forth dialogue between 2 unknown characters through this signage could make for a really cool adventure. Something like Portal meets the Stanley Parable, but with gunslinging golf. Speaking of gunslinging, I fully expected Game of the Year 420 Blaze It, yes, that's the actual title, to be an absolute giant stinky dumpy garbage pile of a game, but I was pleasantly surprised with a legitimate homage to 2012 meme culture, complete with Doritos, Mountain Dew, satisfying gunplay, way too much slow-mo, and Shrek, but actually he's Spoderman.
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
Something about this makes me want a fast-paced run-and-gun breakbeat drum and bass fueled FPS, so if someone could start developing that for me, that'd be great. Also, the game just crashes at the end, which I thought was a nice touch. On the topic of nice touches, I am so lonely, please send help, I crave physical touch. Hold on, did someone f*** with the script? On the topic of nice touches, Escape PS1 Hagrid, a Harry Potter spoof game where you escape Hagrid, gather narcotics for Dumbledore, infiltrate the Slytherin house, and murder all of the Slytherins, has some very simple controls. Press F to Lumos, and press Alt F4 to Avada Kedavra yourself. That's pretty funny. You get a gold star. Damn, new Cuphead DLC looking good, but not as good as Beemis, the Curse of God. Beemis is the perfect kind of weird, with seemingly half-assed 8-bit doodles that form a strangely coherent and bizarre world to buzz around in. Odd characters are everywhere, Beemis splats when he hits the ground, the bosses are challenging but mostly fair, and the music fits the vibe to a T. My only complaint is the game hurts my hand. Oh my lord, dude, mashing the X button to attack hurts. I edit videos day in, day out. The carpal tunnel is already setting in. I cannot be mashing X this much. It hurts. Please help.
Father, can we play my game now?
No, shut up. We'll do it later. I'm trying to get them to sympathize with me so they'll subscribe. Anyways, Beemis is lit. I highly recommend checking it out if you have great button mashing skills. Also patience. It's hard. Aw, this will be cute. Just building a little doghouse for your doggy. Oh, there's Leonard. Okay, that's a little weird. Better kept inside. Okay. Oh, hell yeah, lasagna. Oh, okay, comedy club. Oh, hey man, great set. You killed it up there.
Thanks man. I think my material needs some work, but it's really great getting feedback. I appreciate it.
I actually almost missed this next game. I put it in the wrong folder, but the Golden Tower felt like playing through a surrealist A24 movie. The atmosphere and the ambience paired with the striking visuals and the title card were really neat. It was just unfortunately so short. I mean, you basically walk up some steps and that's the game, but damn, the style of dev went with is right up my alley. This very much felt more like an art project than a game, but it kind of worked out in the end. Speaking of art projects, another game that felt very artsy is The Addicts: A Dungeon. These clay models they used were super fun and totally gave me Clay Fighter and Earthbound vibes. The game itself is a simple dungeon crawler RPG. Each character had a strong hand and a weak hand, both of which could be loaded up with items or weapons. It kind of became a game of item management and memorization and encouraged you to experiment to learn what certain items did. I almost bailed on this game until I started learning how it worked, and then I just couldn't help but want to finish it. This is yet another game that I would love to see expanded upon. There were also a few games that were neat enough to mention, but I don't have tons to say about, so real quick, Wibble Wobble had a neat concept. The ground wiggles and you gotta avoid the red. It's based on a high score system, so it felt a little bit aimless, but it had satisfying gameplay and was neat to look at. Dream Aether itself was simple. You fly around and collect shit, but the stages were designed well enough and the music was great, so I enjoyed checking them out. Despite Vaporwave being pretty overdone at this point, I think the dev did a great job with it. Super Sculptor at first seemed kind of boring, but as I looked at the items and their names and utilized some of the items that add motion, it grew on me. Just look at my beautiful police bread tree. Pearl Grabber is a fun little romp around an island collecting pearls, climbing giant statues, and listening to this existential entity contemplate its life. I liked the style this dev went with, and even though I typically don't like collectathon type games, the dev added a feature that made the clams sing when you were close by, so I really didn't mind. Besides, I was surprised at how much detail went into the map, so it ended up being fun exploring. The longer I played, the more I ended up noticing. Alright, we've got 2 games left. One of them is simply the funniest of the bunch, and the other being the overall winner for today's batch of weird games. Love at Fujikawa Academy is a very self-aware parody of dating sim games. It's again a super short one, but the dialogue has some hilarious moments. And it's just the kind of nonsensical humor I like. There was definitely a couple points that felt like it was trying a little too hard to be strange, but for being made in only 3 hours for a game jam, I think it's actually pretty solid. I like the stream of consciousness kind of humor, and I'd absolutely love to see a fully fleshed out dating sim in this style, with different paths and a bunch of alternate endings. I think it could be hilarious. And finally, we have Platwormer.
Top of his head.
Robert Thompson, a fellow YouTuber, created this game based on viewer suggestions, and for something he called a throwaway game in his making of video, it sure is a blast. This is the kind of stuff I look for when making these videos, games that are weird and unique, but still enjoyable and worth checking out. The making of made it really clear that this game became weird by happenstance and not by force, and that makes it feel a lot more natural and not like it's trying too hard to be weird like a lot of these games end up doing. It's very obviously a platformer where you can crawl along like a worm, and it kind of feels like a Bennett Fodian type game where it's really challenging, and if you mess up, you end up having to restart. But I was overall pleasantly surprised when I opened it up and it was an actual solid game. Personally, I think the controls were a little bit too sensitive, but for a game made from viewer suggestions, I gotta give it a thumbs up.
Father, my game, please.
Okay, Glorm, fine, show us your game. Alright, that's the last time you ever get to pick anything.
Father, I curse your very soul to an eternity of suffering and anguish.